Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Coffee Time. I'm your host, Byron. This is episode number 94. Damn, close to 100. Who would have thought that? Wow, crazy. But we are live right now on YouTube, available next day on all podcasting apps Anchor, Spotify, Google, iTunes, and now newly Amazon Music. So if you got your Amazon Prime or you got Alexa, can tune us in if you want to. But anywho, enough of that. Alongside me via StreamYard and on YouTube right now is former Major League pitcher Brian Duensing. How are you tonight?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So let's just start off there. I know you got before we got on air, you talked about what you're doing. You told me what you're a little bit doing now, which is coaching softball with your daughter. How's that going about? Does she want to have a professional career in softball?
Yeah, I think so. She's only 10. We have 4 kids, 10, 8, 6, and 4. Girl, boy, girl, boy. So
Oh,
softball is
there you
getting.
go. Perfect
Yeah,
combination.
I know. I don't know how that happened, but I mean, I know how it happened. But I
Yeah,
mean,
there you go.
timing wise, I think we nailed it. But yeah. So
Right.
she's 10. So I just kind of help coach with that. I'm not kind of an assistant coach. I'm not the head coach or anything like that.
Hmm.
But it's going good. She enjoys it, and that's what it's all about, really, at that age, especially, is make sure they're having fun and they enjoy the game. And I also help coach my son's baseball team too. So this is his first year of kid pitch, so that'll be something new for him as well. And it's a good time for me to get my heart rate elevated. So it's good.
Yeah. Now tell me, do they want to pursue as well? Do your sons want to pursue what you did,
Uh,
or is it
yes and
still
no. So
is it still
so
early?
I think it's still early. They both my sons say they want to play baseball like dad, but
Mhm.
the oldest one, the drive isn't quite there. He wants to play, but obviously
Right.
he's 8, so he's got all this other stuff he
Right.
wants to do, which is great.
Right.
And then the 4-year-old, he's our I'm not gonna say bully. Bully is the wrong word, but he's our go getter. So it's kind of fun. He's trying to hang with his older brother, and it just makes a lot of fun right now. So
It's gotta be.
that's kind of what we're doing now with our free time.
That's what I'm saying. It's got to be fun for you. I mean, you're retired, living a retired life, coaching up your kids. For a former ball player, doing that and staying in the game. I know not pro, but at least staying in the game for the kids. I mean, that's got to be something for you, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's great, to be honest. I remember the first time that my daughter got her first hit in a
Mhm.
game. Like, I was at first base, and I was trying to hold back tears. I was so proud of her. And then same with
I bet.
my son too. The first time he got his first hit, like the look on his face, um, it's kind of emotional, which it seems kind of not ridiculous, but I've been blessed to do a lot of great things, and especially in the game of baseball. And then to see your kid get their first hit, like
Mhm.
a little dribbler through the infield, was like one of the most proudest moments of my life. So, but that's what it's all about. It's fun. I enjoy
Exactly.
it.
Exactly. So now let's get right to it. After um, after the Olympics had just passed a couple years ago, I see you were a part of two United States teams, the World Cup in '07 and the '08 team. You won gold and bronze. Compare your stints to those playoff rounds because I know it's a competition compared to the MLB playoff rounds that you were part of with your teams because you were in some tight playoff teams with the Twins and the Cubs.
Yeah. Um, well, the both the USA team and the Olympic team, those went a little better than the playoff appearances I had in pro ball. But I would say it's darn near the same thing, the same feeling. The intensity and the way your heart rate gets up, the adrenaline, all that stuff it's the same. You just have the whole country watching, with the Olympics, so there's a little extra pressure there. Um, I think obviously there's no prouder moment than representing your country.
Right.
In 2007, I was supposed to go to the fall league, and said no. I didn't want to go, and then actually got called to play on the USA team instead. So I went and did that instead. So it was kind of like I kind of fell into it. I've never played for any other USA team before up until that year. And then, like you said, we won gold in Taiwan. And then 2008, I was in AAA with Rochester, New York with the Twins and was having a terrible year, terrible season, and kind of got back-ended into the Olympic invite because of the original guy they asked. I think he's with the White Sox, wouldn't let him go.
Right.
And so I pitched very well the year before, so they asked me to go, and obviously we won bronze, which is fantastic. I never ever in my entire life would I ever think I'd be an Olympian, let alone win a medal on top of that. So that was fantastic. And in pro ball, with the playoffs and stuff like that, I was definitely nervous, but I also I don't know. It didn't go as well. It seemed faster. It seemed quicker. Even though we went, to a couple multiple game series, the Yankees with the Twins and stuff like that. I mean, those were 3 down both times, but the 3 games there and the playoffs with the Orioles in the playoff game, it seems like a whirlwind, super fast. Whereas the USA team games, those for some reason seemed super slow. They felt really dragged out. Probably because they were actually longer, but it just seemed slower. And that's probably about the only difference. The pace of play just seemed to slow down.
How was the crowd in the Beijing games? Because that was the last if I remember, before they got rid of baseball till a couple years ago. Now it's a city by city basis for whoever takes, whoever has the games in 4 years. I know it goes by that now, but that was the final year before they banned it. How was the crowd for the Beijing games, and who was on your team? Did you have any current players that are still playing to this day on that team?
Yeah, we did. Yes. Well, the first of all, the crowds were really good. I mean, they were very much, United States heavy. We did a really good job of traveling, a lot of families and stuff like that. But China did. I mean, there's a lot of people that like that, that enjoy the game of baseball. So there's a lot of people there. But I think most of our games were probably the most heavily, crowded games, most fans. And you are going to put me on the spot here. I know for a fact that there was like Nate Shearholtz is on the team. See, I don't want to get him confused with the 2007 team as well, because we had a lot of big league guys on that team as well.
Right.
Golly. Yeah, we had a bunch of it seemed like a bunch of Cleveland Indians guys. I think we had 6 guys. But I played with Steven Strasburg in the Olympics, Jake Arrieta, obviously myself, a lot of former guys Terry Tiffey was on the team, and gosh, I got to at least give you one more that was really good. Kevin Jepson was in the bullpen for us. He was throwing gas, so we had defensively we were stacked as well. Great offense.
Basically, when MLB didn't care if they let you guys go.
Well, it's actually, what's funny is they had to get permission for us to go. So it was obviously a privilege to go, a blessing to be on an Olympic team. But at the same time, we knew that's because we're not going to the big leagues. So that was because that's obviously our main goal. Representing the country is great, but that was never on anyone's radar.
Right.
We don't play professional baseball to be on the Olympic team. We played to get to the big leagues. So knowing that we weren't going to go to the big leagues, at least for an extended period of time, was kind of tough for some guys. But yeah, we were pretty stacked. I think we definitely underachieved. Obviously, I'm not going to downplay a bronze medal, third best team in the world, but I think we could have at least been playing for that gold medal game. I think we got beat by Korea, and we got beat by Cuba early. I think we beat Japan a couple times. I think we beat Japan to get into the bronze medal game, but we had to beat Canada too. Canada was really close as well. I think I got the win against Canada. I think I threw 3 innings in relief there. And their entire offensive lineup was all lefties. They didn't have one right-handed hitter. So that was very interesting. But I think because they all play hockey. But it was very interesting. It was very cool because you play, how many different countries, and they all play the game differently.
Right.
It's the same set of rules, but they all have different strategies and different techniques and stuff like that. So it was very, very interesting, very cool to see. We did almost clear benches with China, and I think that would have been really bad. We would have got
That
probably
would have
booed in
been, yes.
hurry.
Especially
But
if they're
it got heated. It got intense to where our coaches would tell us don't leave the dugout. Like they were holding us back. It was getting bad. But I mean, yeah, it was great. It was fantastic. We had a really good team.
So what? Okay, I gotta ask you then, because I know most of the players come over here from the Dominican, Venezuela, Puerto Rican. What country would you say was the most difficult for you guys to play? Because obviously you played with these guys here in the U.S. So, but not all of them play for the country. The majority say they do. But who would you say out of those countries I just mentioned was the toughest to play?
That is actually a really good question. Cuba's probably one of the toughest.
Oh, I forgot about Cuba. How can I
Yeah,
forget?
they're the ones that stick out the most. They're all just humongous human beings. They can play, and they're strong. All their pitchers are really good. I actually started the game against them for the championship, and they pulled me after 4 2/3. So I didn't get the win, which is they can talk about that later. But what's interesting is like, so for instance, like Cuba, like they all like want to hit fastballs, right? So they were really good for anybody like myself who could change speeds and throw off speed here and there. It'd keep them off balance.
Right.
Korea was very well balanced team. They had power. They played small ball really well. Defensively very, very good. And Japan, same thing. Them and Korea are kind of the same. And then Canada, we had a bunch of lefty hitters. I mean, I felt like they were swinging out of their shoes until they needed to like really try and scratch some cross, and all of a sudden their whole game plan would change. So that was tough to deal with because you didn't know what game plan they were going to go with. But when I think of the toughest team that we played, even though we lost to Korea and we lost to Cuba in 2008, in 2007 we beat Cuba. I still say Cuba is probably up there as one of the best. And I never played against Dominican. I haven't played against Puerto Rico, but I've played with and against players from those countries, and they're phenomenal. I mean, they're phenomenal athletes. So.
Okay, so then since you didn't get it, I'm not going to say those, but since you had a chance to play out of the teams you did, I believe it was 4 or 5 teams that you played against that year. I think it was. Did you play 4 or 5 teams? Because I know there's preliminaries and then there's semifinals.
Yeah, are you talking about 2008 in the Olympics?
Yeah, there's 4 or 5 different teams.
Gosh, yeah, it's like almost. I think we did like pool play to start. I think the pool play was like Korea. No, there's only like 6 or I think there's like 6 or 7 teams is all. But because we played Korea and we were winning by like 1 or 2 runs going into the 9th, and we gave it up there in the 9th. And then Cuba, we threw Steven Strasburg. Obviously he throws gas, and they were they were ready for it. So that went right to their wheelhouse.
Yeah,
that one I don't remember that one being even fairly close. I think we lost like 3 or 4 runs. That could be wrong, but and then Japan, we stacked up really well against them, beat them. Then we beat Canada, and then that put us into playing for the bronze medal by beating Canada, which was against Japan. So we beat them twice. So it's like we only played 3 teams, which is interesting. And I don't even know who was on the other side, if I'm going to be honest. I don't know. Oh, we played China too. We played China as well. We played the host country. So yeah, we played like 4 or 5 games. Yeah, we played 4 or 5 games.
Okay, so then let's say this, and out of your 5 teams, rank them. What would you say was your first, second, third, fourth, and fifth? What would you say roster wise? Should you say that gave you guys the fits since you played those 5 games against those teams?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I have to go like the top 3. I think were correct. I still think we were better than Korea. But I mean, they won the gold, and they beat Cuba to do it. So I would go Korea, Cuba, us for that the top 3, and then I would go actually Canada, Japan.
There you go.
China, okay. In those orders. China, obviously, host country, has the game. They had some good athletes, but just very raw. They didn't quite understand some aspects of the game. You could tell they were kind of new to it. maybe new to that type of stage as well. I know that their manager and pitching coach at the time were actually two American guys. I don't know their names. I just know they were American. And they were just behind is all. I mean, I'm not saying they obviously were talented. They were just behind in some aspects of the game that just didn't allow them to compete as well.
So now let's get into your pre-career, your amateur career, your high school. You went to Millard South High in Omaha, Nebraska, where you performed well your time there. Now tell us about your success there and how well you did that helped you get to being, I think you went to college, right? So
Yeah.
obviously getting into a scholarship to go play college ball. How much of the success did you have there to help you get you to the college level?
Yeah, so I know that I know that the game of baseball has changed a lot, especially at the high school level, the way things are done. But
Because you had good success from what I saw. Stats, you had over like 400 strikeouts. I mean, you had good success.
yeah, I don't know those numbers. I know that my senior year I led the state of Nebraska in both batting average and ERA at the same time. I hit 522 and had like a point. I think it was 0.72 ERA on the year. But see, I was the type of kid growing up that I hit every level. Like I was as a freshman, I played on the freshman team. Sophomore, I was reserves. And then junior, I was finally to the varsity level. But I didn't play up. When it came to high school stuff. A lot of people don't know. When I was 13 years old, I tried quitting baseball. I was done. I was burned out.
I don't blame you though.
At the end of the year party, I told my buddies on the team, I was like, "Hey, that was fun. I'm done. I'm not gonna play anymore." And as we're walking to our car in the middle of, this is a concrete parking lot. Two dudes form tackled me and sat on me and said, like, "We're not getting up till you say you're gonna play." Which obviously I did. So I played my 14-year-old season. It was the most fun I had too. Like I was just getting so burned out. I wanted to go on vacation with my family. We grew up camping and that's all I wanted to do. Like, and our whole summer was taken like constantly. Yeah. We'd have like 4 days before school started of like downtime. And it was like right in school. So we never really had time. And I was getting frustrated with it. Anyway, so 14-year-old season I played, most fun I had. So then, but yeah, I just did a lot of camps. I enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the work. I enjoyed tee work. I always played games with myself. I wanted to see how good I could hit the ball off the tee. I wanted to see how many times I hit the ball right back up the middle off, the coach throwing, no matter where the ball was. That was my goal, hit it right back up the middle. I always played games with myself, and I kind of noticed I was like, I'm kind of pretty good, like it's going well. But I was always taught to be humble, so I never like bragged about it by any means. But I started doing some camps. I went down to the University of Nebraska for a couple camps. A couple buddies drugged me to. And that was kind of where Nebraska saw me for the first time. The day I got my actual offer, or I guess when the University of Nebraska knew they were going to give me my offer, they came to watch me pitch my junior year in the summer. And they, gosh, no, I don't know. It doesn't matter. I think it was my junior year. And the pitching coach for Nebraska was talking to a Hutchinson Community College, which is in Kansas. They're also wanting me to go there. And that Hutchinson was a feeder for University of Nebraska. Well, so those two coaches obviously know each other. And the pitching coach in Nebraska looks at him and says, if he hits 85 miles an hour today, we're going to take him. And I'm not joking. On my last pitch of the night, I threw 85 miles an hour. And then I went down to a camp like 4 days later. They had some summer camp for soon-to-be seniors, and they actually offered me there. Which I thought was kind of weird because my parents weren't. It was kind of like off the cuff. Hey, we wanted to offer you a scholarship.
Right.
Completely threw me off guard. Like I was the guy. I played because I enjoyed the game and it kind of kept me out of trouble. It gave me something to do. But I was always the first guy there. I carried the equipment because I wanted to. I don't know, I guess it's kind of nerdy, but and I was always the last one to leave. Like I would do extra stuff around the field. Just sat and talked with our coaches the whole time. I enjoyed the feeling of, like, especially late in summer, like when the grass would get at night, the grass get cool. Like I liked the smell of like the grass. Like, that sounds like kind of lame. But that's what I enjoyed. But I got to know our coaches so well. Both our head coach and assistant coach, both their daughters were. I still talk to them like every day. I sponsor the high school Legion team, even though we live in Elkhorn. I sponsor the North South Legion team. But the success I had there, I think was a prime example of hard work. I don't think it was anything. I wasn't like a standout athlete until those stats started rolling in. Again, I was throwing 83, 84 miles an hour with a little bit of sink and just kept the ball down, let the defense play. So, and then I got to the University of Nebraska. And my first semester, my freshman year, I put on 13 pounds of muscle with like the weight program they put us on. Mm-hmm. And I went from 84 to 85 to sitting 89, 92. And then my sophomore until I blew out my elbow in 2004. But hard work is all really hard work and dedication, love of the game. And granted, like there's a lot of people that love the game of baseball and work hard and things don't happen. That's just the way it is, or their journey's different. That's just how mine happened to go.
Now it's a 2-part question here. Now you said you obviously were a good hitter, and your stats prove it. I see it on with your in high school. You were a good hitter. Your stats prove it, like you said. Ultimately, what made you decide? Because obviously you were dominant as a pitcher too, so it had to be a tough decision for you just to pick one. What made you decide to take one over the other? And the other part of the question is, do you think differently if you were drafted as a hitter? Do you think your career in baseball would have been a lot different than what you had success with as a pitcher?
You know what's funny is I've done a lot of interviews and no one has ever asked me that question. And I love it. That's great. The reason I gave it pitching was because I got recruited as a pitcher. So I figured going Division I, like you didn't have like two-way players. That's just what I assumed. So they get me money. They get what's that?
Look at nowadays. I know that's being blown out the water with Shohei.
Yeah, I know exactly. But yeah, so I got offered as a pitcher. So that's just kind of like I figured. All right, if they wanted me as a hitter, they would have said, "Hey, we want you to hit as well." And they never said that. So I just kind of threw that to the wayside. We'd have pitchers BP every once in a while. We throw a shutout. We had pitchers BP, and I'd let it eat here and there. But if I would have got drafted as like a position player and had to hit, I don't know if I would have made it, to be honest. I don't think. I mean, now, especially nowadays when you see guys that have to hit for power. I'm not joking. I was a line drive up the middle guy, singles and doubles. My senior year, I had, I think, 4 homers and 3 were over the fence. And those were only 4 homers my entire life. So it didn't take, until my senior year, I didn't hit homers. I was a singles double guy. And if I got one in the gap, I used to be able to run pretty good. So I get a triple or something like that. But yeah, as a position player, I'm not gonna lie, I put in work. I love playing first base. My main goal was that, unless it's physically out of my reach to jump, right? In my mind, like the ball's not getting past me, and that's what I took pride in. But I don't think I wouldn't have made it. I don't know. I don't think so. I would if my ego says yeah, I think I would. But if I'm going to be realistic, I don't think I would. There's so many position players. It's unbelievable.
I'd hate to say it. I'd have to agree with you on that one with the way the game has changed so much now. Back in the 90s, that's all, and 80s, that's all they really cared about was speed, bring the runner over, hit the ball, drag the runner over, whatever, small ball. Nowadays, slowly it's coming back, but I hate to agree with you. I don't think you would have made it either.
I would have been too boring. Like that would have been. I wouldn't have been like, no one would have liked me. Like, oh, here comes the guy's gonna hit single up the middle, yay! Like whatever. And then obviously I haven't seen like live pitching forever, and then I get to the big leagues. And now I'm hitting against these guys throwing 98 miles an hour. I'm like, I got no chance. And it shows. Like my swings are terrible. So, I don't think it would happen.
So then, like you said, after you get scouted and you get to go to your basically home of Nebraska, you get to go to that school. You get paired up with college teammates, New York Yankees pitcher Jabba Chamberlain, Kansas City Royal Alex Gordon. Are you still friends with them to this day? Did you guys talk? How was that experience like playing ball with them alongside them?
Yeah. Well, they play alongside me. Let's get that straight. All right. I was there first. No, I'm just kidding. No, it was great. So Alex Gordon and I, we still talk. We were at each other's weddings. We still shoot text messages back and forth and stuff like that. I really wish he lived in Lincoln. I think he lives in Overland Park, Kansas as of now. With Jabba, we were really close in college. But we got to the big leagues. Obviously, I say hello and stuff like that. But we just kind of fell apart. Which is not apart. We felt like
Yeah,
doing different. We were in different directions. It's fall, and there's by no means any hard feelings whatsoever. That's just life. Life happens. So
right.
But yeah, I mean, and even like Tony Watson was on those later teams as well. I mean, we had some guys that could play, and in that 05 and 2005, my last year of Nebraska, I mean, I think that was one of the best baseball teams the university's ever seen. Definitely underachieved there too. We were the hottest team going into the World Series, and didn't pan out. But I believe our record was like 57-14 or something insane like that. So I think we had more wins than actual scheduled games when you include the playoffs and stuff like that postseason. But yeah, I was very fortunate to play with a lot of great players, and when you play with guys that are better than you, it only makes you better. So very blessed in that aspect. And if it wasn't for Dave Van Horn at Nebraska and Coach Anderson and to be honest, Coach Rob Childress, I owe everything to the university, and especially to Rob Childress. He taught me how to pitch, taught me how to throw a slider, taught me how to compete just in general. So I owe a lot to that university and those people. I wouldn't have got where I was without them.
Your tenure there, your 3 years there, you had one hell of a career. Your total ERA was 3.66. You won 17 games. You had you only lost 2 games. Your total Ks was 136. I mean, I can see why you got drafted. That's one hell of college career. I mean, did you ever have a chance? And you said you were part of good teams. Did you ever get the chance to compete for the College World Series?
Oh yeah. We went in 2002, my freshman year. I started game 2 of that against South Carolina. I didn't go that well. I think he gave up I want to say, maybe 4 runs, and they pulled me. And then 05, we did it again. Went back to College World Series. And I came out of the bullpen. We threw against I think Florida, University of Florida. Didn't really go well there either for that. But playing in the postseason, the one game that really sticks out to me the most is my freshman year. We played in a regional in Lincoln.
Yep, I was going to ask you that.
Wisconsin, Milwaukee, and I came in 6 2/3 relief, and that was my big one. That was the one that got me the start in College World Series. The way I've been pitching in the late go, but I'll tell you what, back in those days, Haymarket Park in Lincoln was the pinnacle of college baseball. We'd sell out 8,800 people on a Tuesday afternoon against. It doesn't matter. I mean, University of Nebraska, Kearney. It didn't matter who was in. We were selling out games that just shouldn't be sold out. And we were fun. We were fun. We were fun to watch. I mean, it was a great atmosphere. And right now, Coach Will Bolt is there, who I played with my freshman year. He's now the head coach. I mean, he's got him going in the right direction. Have a little rough patch to start here, but hopefully that gets back to where it needs to be. But yeah, we played College World Series twice, and I mean, that was playing in Rosenblatt. I know it's TD Ameritrade now, but it was Rosenblatt back then. But 28,000 people all in red rooting for you is something else. Something that you don't lose that feeling ever.
Do you remember the one game in the Super Regional where you replaced Shane Comine and you lost that one after winning 6 straight games? How brutal was that?
That was against it had to be against Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah, against Miami. Yeah.
How brutal was that? You came in winning 6 straight.
Yeah. It got away from me. We had bases loaded. I just couldn't find the zone. And then the guy they brought in after me gave up a grand slam, which are obviously my runs. So that kind of stunk. But yeah, no, I remember that game too. I felt so. Small sounds weird. I just felt tiny. I just felt like I'm an idiot. I couldn't figure it out. I had no idea. I was jacked up. It wasn't I wasn't ready to go. It just 2 things snowballed, and the game sped up on me. And next thing you know, it was we lost. I'm awesome, great job, Brian, you did it. But then obviously we ended up winning that series. But what's interesting about that is Ryan Braun was on that Miami team. Danny Valencia, who I actually played with in Minnesota, was on that team.
Right.
I mean, they had a couple, 2, 3, 4, 5 good guys on that team. And I know after talking with Valencia a lot, they came in to Lincoln thinking they were going to blow right through us and go to Omaha, and they ran into a buzzsaw with Java Chamberlain on that Friday night, and then oh no, you're talking about, oh my gosh, you're talking about freshman year. I'm thinking 05. Oh my goodness. Who was that against? I think that was that Richmond? That was Richmond.
Yeah, it was to Richmond. Yep.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I got confused there for a second.
I thought it was Miami because that's what I thought.
The Grand Slam did happen against Richmond. That was not good. But whatever. Obviously, the memories are still clear. I don't even remember who we were playing, but I remember Richmond had like 2 or 3 big boppers on their team too. That just, I mean, we didn't. This sounds bad because they were there and it was super regional, but like they kind of came out of nowhere, in our minds because we thought I can't remember who they beat in their regional. It was kind of an upset, and they put up a good showing. But I remember the dog pile like it was yesterday.
Now Vanderbilt is known for their baseball lineage. Did you have the pleasure any of those years facing any of Vanderbilt's teams that had future MLB players? Because Vanderbilt is a well-known school for baseball lineage. Almost big names. I mean, big names. Evan Longoria.
Yeah.
David Price. You name it. It's who's who names coming out from that school.
Yeah, I never.
Those guys?
I don't think we ever played against Vanderbilt. I played with like Longoria on one of those USA teams. Obviously against David Price. I pitched against David Price in the big leagues a lot. Vanderbilt has obviously been like an unbelievable powerhouse when it comes to baseball. I don't get it. I don't understand how they do it, but
I don't either.
It's a great baseball school. So yeah, I mean, anytime you see like in the draft, especially anytime you see anyone that came from Vanderbilt, they're studs. So they got a good program. They got to go. They got it going on over there.
Yeah, because your freshman year, I mean, you well deserved this. You had an honorable mention for All-American, and you were a Big 12 all-freshman team on that team. Well deserved. I mean, that year was amazing. I mean, you compiled 60 Ks, won 6 games, lost 2 in 18 games, 78 innings pitched. So you deserve that. But then the following year, you get hurt. Now, did you know that did you think that was going to hurt your scouting a little bit? Is that why you stayed an extra year to play? Or did you think you were going to get drafted regardless with that elbow injury?
So yeah, I tore it in 03, but I tore it again in 04. I tore it in 03. It was like, gosh, it was at home, doubleheader against University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. Actually, it was like 28 degrees at the start of game 2 of a doubleheader. And about, I want to say second, third inning, I felt it go. Back then, which sounds weird, but in 2003, like I wasn't a complete tear. It was like a partial tear. So they wanted me to just rehab it and try and get it back that way. Well, then it was almost like a year to the date. I was throwing a bullpen inside and it went again. I felt it go even farther. It still was not a complete tear. So in 2004, I had surgery. But even then, I remember our head coach, Mike Anderson at the time, pulling me off the side, and he was devastated. He's like, man, I'm so sorry this is happening to you. I told him, I stopped. I was like, hey, I'm fine. Back then, my main goal when I was in college was I wanted to be a high school English teacher. I wanted to coach at North South with my ex-head coach and teach high school English. That was my main goal.
Yeah, you weren't worried about making it a big league.
No, not at all. I didn't even think I was going to play college baseball.
Right.
And then I'm getting a scholarship, and let alone think I was going to play professional baseball. And then I'm getting drafted. And then even then, I was like, I'll probably give it 3 or 4 years. And then the career I had is insane. So then I tore it in 04. And so then I rehabbed it. That's when and then when I got drafted in 05, Alex Gordon went number 2 overall. And so I remember his brother was the only one allowed in the stadium because we were practicing, getting ready for the World Series. And so the draft starts, we're working out, whatever. And then his brother just holds up, goes like this in the stands. So oh, he went number 2. We all converge, get, kind of dogpile him a little bit, congratulate him, stuff like that. So we go through practice, right? We're going through practice and we're doing our thing at the end where we have our meeting and the coaches are kind of calling it up. And at the corner of my eye, I see our media relations guy like sprinting down the stairs. And I'm like, in my head, I think it's Zach Kroenke, who's a lefty on our team. Like something, I'm like, I think he got drafted. Like something happened. Like what's going on here?
Right.
And so he kind of pulls our coach off the side, talks to him, and he goes, whoa. Before we break it up, we gave congratulations to Alex Gordon. There's another guy we need to congratulate, and that's Mr. Duensing. And I was like, holy shit. It caught me so off guard. I'm like, what? And they said, yeah, I got drafted in the 3rd round, this and that. And like, so I'm like, I didn't know what to say. Like people are like, congrats. I'm just like dumbfounded. Like I didn't, even to this day, like I don't think I realized how good I actually was. So I did not know how things were going. So then the media pulls me off to the side. They're asking me every question in the book. Like I'm just pumped. And then I had to stop them though, because I don't, who even drafted me? No one even told me who I got drafted. Like, oh, the Minnesota Twins. I'm like, all right, sweet. Like I talked to them one time my sophomore year. I hadn't heard from them since. So yeah, I mean, obviously I owe a lot to that organization as well. Everything is timing. Everything is, especially in baseball, it's luck, it's timing, it's obviously skill. And I mean, who knows? If I get drafted by anybody else, I know the White Sox were talking to my dad a lot about taking me in the 5th round. They said, if I get drafted 5th round, will I go? Because I had one more year of eligibility. And again, I wasn't planning on playing pro ball. I was going to be a high school English teacher. And so I told my dad, I was like, I mean, if I go to the 5th round, yeah, I'll probably go. But anything outside the top 10, no chance.
Right.
And then they took me in the 3rd round, and just kind of worked out. The Twins were an organization at the time where they were still preaching pitch to contact, let your defense play, those type of things, which was like right in my wheelhouse. I wasn't a guy that's going to blow the doors off anybody. I could sink the ball. I could make a guy hit the ball on the ground. I could jam a guy. Might get a strikeout here and there, but I wasn't these guys that come out and punch out 8 to 12 with 97 on our fuel. I was 90 to 93 with sink. And so it fit perfectly. And then also that organization had some unfortunate key injuries, but that's just kind of how it works. And then I kind of moved up the ladder that way and performed well when I needed to.
So who ultimately told you that you did get drafted by them? Was it the manager, Ron Gardner himself, the owner, the general manager? Who ultimately told you in the end that you were getting drafted by them?
It was the scout that signed me. He called me. I had like he knew we were practicing. So like I had like a missed call like 10 minutes before practice was over. So he knew the situation, but yeah, it was the scout who signed me. Is the one that called. He's the one guy I talked to my sophomore year. He left kind of a message that, reminded me who he was and stuff like that. But yeah, so it wasn't like I never talked to Gardy. I never talked to the front office or anything like that. And then, yeah, I mean, I just kind of went through the whole process and they asked me if I had an agent way back when, like all these teams that come in and do your questionnaires and stuff, they asked if I had an agent and I said no.
Right.
Or an advisor or whatever it was. And so when I actually got drafted that high, I kind of wanted an agent or an advisor because I didn't know what the heck was going on. And I loved my dad to death, but I didn't want to leave it up to him to negotiate. So
right, I don't blame you.
But I also was like, I'm not going to, first thing I'm going to do in pro ball is not going to go against my word. So I didn't use an advisor, but he was kind of, the guy I ended up signing with as an agent, he was kind of giving me some questions to ask and like kind of giving me some stuff, but I did all the talking. He never spoke to the team until after I signed. But yeah, I love Minnesota Twins. They'll always be home. It was complete blessing, but complete surprise too. Again, like I did like a 15-minute interview without even knowing who drafted me until I finally had to ask. So it was pretty interesting.
So after you get drafted, you spend some time in the minors with them before your call up. Tell us about your minor league experience. What was that like pitching before you ultimately get the call up to the Twins? It
was hard. Not the baseball sense, but like the lifestyle was hard. At the University of Nebraska, we had 8,800 people coming to every game. We had oak lockers, nice locker room, unbelievable showers, meal money when we go on the roads, nice uniforms, everything. And then I went to Elizabethton, Tennessee, which is short season, 2-month season.
Mm-hmm.
I rolled in. The field was no better than any high school field I played on. There's like 35 people in the stands. The clubby wash our uniforms by taking all of them, throwing them into a pile in the shower and hosing them off like while we're showering. Just like a complete culture shock. That was tough. But then once I kind of got my feet wet, got my bearings, I could just focus on the game of baseball. And then it was kind of like I just kind of did what I'd been doing for the last 8 years. And I was just trying to throw strikes down the zone. And I obviously had rough outings. So every time I had a rough outing, though, I'd email or call our academic advisor at the University of Nebraska and like, hey, this ain't gonna work out. I need to get my degree. And then after a while, she stopped replying to my emails and messages because she just knew that I was having a rough day. So, but it was, I mean, I went up, same thing. I went up the ladder, short season to low A to high A. In 2006, my first full season, I started in low A in Beloit, Wisconsin. The last outing before I got called up, I gave up 7 earned runs in like 3 innings. And they called me up that day. I'm like, all right, that's weird. Go to Fort Myers, Florida that year. And then I have another outing later, like a month into it, where I gave up 7 earned runs in 3 innings. And they called me up the next day to double A. And I'm like, what is good? I can give up 7 runs every time. That's all it takes, like that's easy. So I went from low A and finished in double A in 2006. 2007, I started in double A. And just, I mean, myself and a buddy of mine, Nick Blackburn, who I still talk with, we were carving people up. We were the best 1-2 combo in double A.
Yeah.
Go up to play in 2008 and finished the year pretty good there. And then 2007 was double A to triple A. And 2008 went back to triple A and had a horrendous year. It was just bad. I had like a 12 ERA in the first inning, and then everything after was great, but I couldn't get out of the first inning, it seemed like, without giving up runs. And like I said, it was bad, just a bad year. Ended up going to the Olympics. That was the year I went to the Olympics, and that kind of around. But that's just, I mean, I hit every roadblock. I had success. I had, the failures, and which I think was great. I mean, I think if it would have been smooth sailing the whole way up, I wouldn't have been prepared for big league lifestyle and like big league hitters. But again, I was fortunate that the Twins had good coaches. A lot of people kind of bounce things off of, and then 2009, I went to spring training and didn't give up a run all big league spring training and made the team at a camp because I think someone got hurt. I think Scott Baker got hurt and just kind of filled that role and was up for a little bit. Debuted. I got sent back down to AAA, and then when I got called back up, I never went back down. So, but yeah, I mean, some of my best memories in professional baseball came from the minor leagues. And
well, yeah, it was rough, tough, like you said, back and forth.
Yeah. I mean, in Beloit or in Low A, I mean, we had 5 guys living in a 2-bedroom apartment. My bedroom was 2 air mattresses on top of each other in the corner of the kitchen, and I used half the pantry as my closet. It was awesome. It was so much fun. We spent extra money as a group to rent a humongous big screen TV so we could play Call of Duty. It was so great. I mean, those are like the things. I mean, the bus trips like that was awesome. Those are the memories that stick with me to this day.
So let's get back to the Olympics a little bit, real quick. I see. Apparently, is this true? What I'm seeing? Tell me about this and what brought about this. You ended up writing a blog called Brian's Baseball Blog, a perspective from a player's point of view in the Olympics. What the hell brought up that? What made you decide to do that?
They asked me. That's the only reason I did it. USA Baseball said they wanted somebody to do something. I said, I'll do it. That's fine. Yeah, so I did like a blog. I just kind of, I don't even know how many times I did it. I don't know how many, but yeah, I got in trouble for one because I almost leaked what we were wearing for opening ceremonies in one of the blogs. And so they were like, nope, you got to take that out. You can't do that yet. I'm like, all right, well. So I was basically getting censored already,
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, I don't write. And I think that's
I see. I know you don't write. That's why that was like a shock to me. Like when I saw that, I was like, "What?"
Yeah. At first, it was fun. I was like, "Oh, cool! They want to hear what I have to say." And then I kind of realized like everyone else said no for a reason now, and I just got completely baited. So, but it was fun. It was okay, but yeah, I not for me.
So then, yeah, like you said, you get lucky after that in 09. You never get called back down to the minors. You get your first major league debut, unfortunately, due to the injury of one Scott Baker,
Mhm.
and you get to make your opening day roster, like you said, and you get to debut. What was that experience like? Did you have goosebumps? Or did you not care? Was your family there? Take us through that whole day of your call up? I mean, not your
Yeah.
call up, but your debut. Shall I say?
Yeah. So I had gotten up in the bullpen twice in the opening series in Minneapolis. We opened up against Toronto, and I got up twice, never got in, which I think actually helped. Kind of got the jitters out a little bit. So we
Mm-hmm.
played like a 3 or 4 game series there, and then we went to Chicago, play the White Sox. Both my in-laws, my wife, and then my parents and grandparents were all in Minnesota, hoping I debut, which I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So then my folks took my grandparents, drove them all the way back to Kansas, and physically turned around and went right to Chicago. And they pulled in, same with my in-laws, pulled in that day of the first game against the White Sox that I happened to actually debut in. Freezing. I was so nervous. I was shaking. I couldn't feel when I got called in. I was actually going in. I couldn't feel my legs. It was like weird. I guess kind of. I don't even know how I got to the mound. Like they just weren't. They didn't feel like they were working. And I remember the very first guy I faced was AJ Pierzynski, and I jammed him. He hit a ground ball to first base, and he called me every name in the book the whole way down the baseline. To the point where I'm like, I don't ever get really fired up. But I was like, who's this guy? You can't. Why are you calling me these names? And
And
like,
what you did to deserve, yeah, what you did to deserve it, yeah.
yeah, I'm like, what? Come on, like, and then Morneau is like laughing, and after I'm like, what are you laughing? He's like, you'll figure it out. I'm like, all right. Well, I kind of found out like that's just the type of player he was. Like he just would do that to anybody. It wasn't just like me. He didn't pick on me, but
Right.
yeah. So I mean, I think that game I got my first inning, my first out. I got my first strikeout. I think I picked a guy off at second. I think maybe.
And you gave up your
a
first
homer.
home run.
Yeah, and that one was a wall script. That was BS.
You know who? You know to who?
Oh no, Quentin.
You
Carlos
had,
Quentin.
you had the right.
Yeah,
You had
Carlos
the
Quentin. Yeah,
last name
he
right.
he had a wall scraper. Denard Span, I think, was in left. He said he heard it hit the wall on the way down. I'm like, that's any other ballpark, it's not out. But anyways, yeah, he got me.
Oh my goodness.
But that was fun. And then I stayed there the rest of that series, and we went right back to Minnesota, played Seattle. I got called. I think I sent down then, and
You did.
yeah, but it was
Baker came back. Yeah, Baker had come back.
Yeah, exactly. But it was awesome. I mean, that was if I would never have gotten called back up, I would have been completely satisfied. All the hard work paid off. Like that feeling, the way you're treated in the big leagues, like that was the coolest thing ever. Yeah, and then when I did get called back up, and I mean, obviously I didn't get sent back down, but yeah, it was just. I mean, it was crazy. It was fun.
So, then let's see here. Then you make your first major league start. You weren't really a starter. You were mainly a bullpen guy. You make your first start when Francisco Ariano gets hurt. Tell us about how that came about to make you want to start, because you were primarily a bullpen guy. So what made you decide to get the start against the White Sox? Because obviously they were a powerhouse team as well,
Yeah.
like you said, with Brzezinski,
Yeah.
Dunn,
Tomei. Yeah. I mean, they had some. Yeah. Their lineup was ridiculously dumb.
ridiculous. Yes.
Well, so in all of my college, except for a small stint in college and all my minor league, I was actually a starter the whole time. So I think when I got called to big leagues, they moved me into like a long reliever role, kind of help if a guy, crapped the bed as a starter. So it was kind of easy. It was an easy transition. Like they could throw me out there for a while, and it wasn't going to be like I blew up the whole bullpen unless I completely didn't get out of the first inning. So that wasn't, I don't think, that big of a deal or that big of a decision for the front office or the Gardy or those guys. But yeah, first start was against the White Sox. I don't even remember how it went, to be honest. I think my first win came from the Royals, I think. But
it looks like, according to this, you went 5 innings that game, giving up 2 runs, which were both home runs. on 3 hits and a no decision.
Standard. Yep.
Yep.
Is that in Chicago?
That was in Chicago, yes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's a bandbox. Of course you have homers there.
Exactly. And then like you said, you get your first major league win August 22nd against the Royals. Go figure, who were horrible at that time.
Yes.
They didn't start to get winning about a couple years later. Yeah. So
that was fun. So I was born in a small town in Kansas, Marysville, Kansas. So when I got that start, I had my mom and dad. I think the whole left field line was all family members. There's I think my mom at one point counted 45, 50 people there that were family members. So that was really cool because I could do it. I'm not saying my hometown, but in kind of a hometown crowd.
Right.
And then you get the first one. And again, I think that was a 5 and dive also. I think I only went 5 innings. I hit 3 guys, I feel like. And snuck out a win. But I think that was kind of a turning point of okay, I can do this. Even the no decision with the White Sox, I feel like I kind of skated by. I was okay with it, but I'm not okay with going 5 innings. And then went the 5 and dive with Kansas City and actually got the win. I was like, okay, and the Twins at that time, our bullpen was stacked. I mean, we had Matt Greer, Jesse Crane, Joe Nathan. I mean, you name it. We had a guy for every spot. And then
you had a who's names.
Ridiculous.
Hall of Famers.
Yeah, I mean, Mauer's behind the plate, Morneau's at first base. I mean, it was insane. It was so much fun. I learned a lot. Yes. No, I didn't play Toy Hunter until 14. Toy Hunter I just left. But yeah, I mean, I played the guys. I learned so much from those veteran guys, especially in the bullpen, because I spent most of my time there. Of just how to play the game, how to mentally prepare, how to physically prepare, and then how to mentally take the grind out of the long season and kind of do that too. I mean, I owe so much to those guys, and again, that organization, that place. I spent 10 years of my career with the Minnesota Twins organization. That will always be home to me. So I still talk with a bunch of those guys. We actually have a Twins golf outing coming out in October that we're going out to South Carolina. A bunch of us guys that played on those teams. So I'm looking forward to that.
Actually, you did better than you thought because according to this, you went 7 innings, struck out 8 in that win against the Royals. Oh. So obviously the Royals weren't that good.
I dominated. That's what I'm talking about. No.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That was 20 years ago, it feels like.
Right. Well, pretty much it was that. Yes.
Yeah. Almost. Yeah. Jeez.
So then, like you said beforehand, because you mentioned this previously too. Then for that season, 2009, you become the Game 1 starter in the ALDS against Sabathia and the Yankees, and the history says all between the Yankees and Twins. The Twins, and for some odd reason, I don't know what it is. Maybe you can help me out or whatever, because you played it and you lived it. Why the blue hell could you guys never get past the Yankees at Yankee Stadium nonetheless?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Never.
That was the first time I ever pitched at Yankee Stadium as well, was that game.
Damn.
I will give professional baseball the credit of there's nothing like baseball in October. That's different. That's a different animal. 1.
Right.
2, I don't know. I really don't. I think maybe I can understand them beating us that first game. 1, a rookie's on the mound, myself. Never been there before.
Right.
2, we just played game 163 and landed at 3 in the morning to get into New York. So we're dragging already. So we we had nothing in the tank to start. Now, granted, people will say oh, you should have the adrenaline. Yeah, that can only get you so far. As soon as we lost the lead, it was kind of you just feel all the wind coming out sails. Now, 2010, when we played them again, I feel like we got hosed on one of the first games of the series, a couple missed calls. But I mean, I don't know. They own us. That's the only thing you really say. They were such a good team.
I know. I can't call it. You guys could never get past it. I don't know if it's just I'm sure you got tired of hearing this. The curse of the Bambino for you guys. I'm sure that's all you guys had heard about.
But look at their lineups. Jeter, A-Rod, Teixeira. I mean, yeah. Then you had Mariano coming out of the bullpen.
Right,
Guys throwing gas everywhere. Sabathia. I mean, yeah. I mean, Pettit. I mean, come on. Like that whole team can make the Hall of Fame. You know, I mean, it was just insane. So I mean, I think they're supposed to beat us, but I still don't understand why we couldn't at least get one. You know, like why couldn't we get one out there somewhere? But yeah, they owned us. That's all I can really say. I don't know.
I don't know. It's just that Yankee Stadium, I guess. You guys just couldn't do it for some reason.
Yep.
Like you said, they had an all-star team and a Hall of Fame team, and all you guys had was future Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Well, some of them at least.
Some of them, yeah. We had a lot of grinders. We had a lot of grinders. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So then the following year, after that series, coming in from the elimination, you arrive at spring training. Did you have to compete for a spot, or did you know then and there that you had already made the team going into that year?
I went in with the mindset of I had to make the team. I think if I would have came in thinking I owned a spot, I think it would have been a disaster. I don't think I had that good of a spring, but the good thing was I obviously had pitched for him for so long and had success that a bad spring wasn't going to like negate anything I did. I think I had the spot either way, but I went in with the mindset of I need to earn this spot because that's just the way my mind works, and I have to have that mentality. Otherwise, I wouldn't have maybe performed as well as I needed to, or whatever it may be. Like I didn't want that excuse of like I didn't want to come in with the wrong mindset and use that as an excuse. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I went in there trying to earn a spot again, and then yeah, just was fortunate, obviously, to do it.
So then on July later that year, you get inserted back into the starting rotation after your friend Nick Blackburn got hurt. Tell us about that. How well did you end up doing while taking his spot before he ended up looking like until he ended up going back until he got sent to the bullpen? I'm guessing you ended up taking his role after that then, huh? Because it looks like he got sent to the bullpen. So tell us about that.
Yeah, he was having some knee issues, I believe, and maybe a shoulder issue. It went well. I was pitching really well in 2010. But again, like those teams, 9 and 10, our defense was insane. So I didn't have to like do anything extra. I could just let them put the ball in play, and it was an out. It seemed like, you know, our outfield could fly, or they had unbelievable arms. They throw guys out left and right. I mean, it made pitching easy. So I kind of just picked up where I left off. It seemed like kind of learning here and there, you know, obviously learning some new ways of getting guys out, and you had to learn new guys that come into the league. But that was just simple. That didn't seem as big of a task as it was like in 2009 to, you know, get my feet wet and stuff. I still obviously was a rookie and still felt like a rookie. But, I was able to enjoy it more because I wasn't putting as much pressure on myself. But yeah, like, I mean, Nick Blackburn and I, we were still buddies. We play Call of Duty almost every other night together still. So we keep in touch. We've gone on trips together and stuff like that. So it was difficult to watch that happen to him. But unfortunately, it's part of the nature of the game as well. We put a lot of wear and tear on ourselves. So
yeah, maybe you can help him get me on here. I would like to interview.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll hook you up there. That's a piece of cake. Yeah.
Perfect. So following that, after that happened and he gets sent to the bullpen, you pitch your first career shutout. Do you remember who it was against and who was the rival pitcher that day that you get your first shutout?
Oh, shoot. I only had two. I want to say was that it was either the Rays or the A's. I don't remember which one was
right.
The A's?
Yep.
Okay, so I remember I gave a hit to start the game to Coco Crisp, I think. I only gave up like 3 hits in that game, or 3 or 4. I don't remember I don't remember. Was it Casimir? Was Casimir the opponent pitcher? That doesn't sound right.
Starts with first name is Trevor.
Oh yeah. Oh shoot, I played with him on the Olympic team. What? Gosh, I love that guy. Please, why can't I think of his name? What's his last? I don't know. I can't come up with it. Cahill. Thank you. Jeez.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Trevor Cahill. That guy. He's a character. I'll tell you what.
Oh yes, he is.
Yeah, he's a great human being though. Love that guy. I did not know that's who. I did not know that's who I was throwing.
That was your first one. Yep. That's what this is saying.
Yeah, the second one was against the Rays, and that was against Price. I remember that because I had the bases loaded, I think, in the first inning.
I remember that. Watch that.
Yeah, I want to say I had like 30 pitches through 2 innings or something insane, and ended up going the full length. But that was on 4th of July, I believe. The second one was.
Yeah, it was. Yep.
Both at Target Field. So.
Yep. There you go. Go figure. Yeah. Be at home. So there you go. Count for something. There you go.
Yeah. Exactly.
So then you clinched the division that year in 2010 on October 20th. You were announced, like you said, the third starter in the postseason rotation. You pitched well, obviously. So ultimately, who makes the pitching rotation? Is it the pitching coach? Is it Ron Gardenhire? Who ultimately makes the rotation, say for season or postseason, etc.?
Yeah,
how'd that process go about?
That's definitely that's all manager and pitching coach and front office. I mean, we're basically trying to get off the schneid, trying to get the ball rolling. So we started with Carl Pavano, who pitched really well. And again, like that's one of those things. Like he made a pitch late in the game to what's his name? It was a fastball, and I can't think of his name right now. And it was called a ball, and it was not. It was not a ball. It was like almost
a human error. Yep.
And,
I remember.
Called it a ball, and then because I remember him yelling at the umpire. I'm like, oh geez, don't get tossed. We can't get tossed here. And then the next pitch was a double, and they ended up winning that game because of that. And then, who was game 2? I don't remember who coached. I don't remember who game 2 was.
Santana, maybe. Who? Johan Santana, maybe.
No, I didn't play with him. He was gone by then.
He was gone. Okay.
I mean, it could have been like Scott Baker. It could have been.
Yeah, it could have been anybody. Yeah.
Yeah, it could have been anybody. And we lost that game. Yeah, the Yankees game. And I'm like, oh geez, like again, like here we are again. And then obviously didn't go well. Losing pitcher again, got swept again. So we flew out to Yankee Stadium and got beat and flew right back home. So that was awesome. It's like some things that that's something that a lot of people can't say they did or had the opportunity to do. So it still stings.
Did you at least at all get the chance to salvage a game at all in any of those playoff series against the Yankees? Your couple years that you were swept the whole you were swept both series?
Yep. Oh, 06. Yep. Because in 2010 we were the first team in the playoffs, first team in, first team out. Also, and then 11 we lost like 97 games. 12 we lost like 95 games. 13 was like 97 plus losses. 14 we almost made the playoffs. And then 2015 right back to like 90 some losses. And then I made the playoffs in 16 with the Baltimore Orioles. We made the play-in game or whatever you call it, the wild card game.
Yeah, the play-in,
And then we got walked off that game. So I was like 0-7.
I remember that one. Yeah, I remember that.
I was 0-7 in playoff games, like just winning in general. You obviously didn't throw in 7 of them. And then 17 when I went to the Cubs and we went to the playoffs, I'm like, oh, this is what it's like to win a playoff game? Sweet. Like, this is fun. So, yeah, I mean, I was always disappointed when I lost. Like, people always ask, like, why? Like, media would ask, like, why? Obviously, you're disappointed you lost, but why are you so disappointed? Whatever. And in my mind, I was like, you never know when. I mean, that might have been the last time I ever had a chance to pitch in the postseason. Or since I was young, I might have more opportunity. Some of these guys, as the last run. Right. I felt like I blew it for them. So those are tough. Very blessed to have another opportunity to get to the postseason, and obviously blessed to actually win some games. Almost got there with the Cubs, the World Series. Never pitched in the World Series. Obviously, never won a ring. That one kind of stings a little bit, but again, like I was able to do way more in my career than a lot of people had the opportunity to that got there. So you can't be too upset about it.
Right. So then the next year in 2011, you give the third spot in the rotation. Do you remember if you had to compete for that or not? Were you just handed it to you?
Well, it was weird. I was told I had to come in and compete for it, and then it was handed to me before I made my first start in spring. So I didn't know if that was like a mind game they were playing with me or what. But because my first start in spring was against the Rays, I believe, and it didn't go well. But they told me before, when I got out of the game, the media said so Gardner said you're the starter, third starter or whatever. Before the game, he said you're going to be a starter this year. I'm like, oh, it threw me off. I came in thinking I was going to compete for the spot, and they gave it to me, they handed it to me. And that year was terrible. That was a horrendous year.
Yeah, 9-14, 5.23 ERA.
It didn't go.
But you had a good reason. You had an oblique injury most of the year.
Yeah, I did. I strained what do they call it? They called it intercostal muscle, like the muscles in between your ribs. Did not feel good. But I didn't want to go on the DL because my whole pro career hadn't been on the DL yet. I didn't want to turn into a guy that was always on it. So I tried fighting through it, which is probably the wrong thing to do. But I mean, it is what it is, I guess. I don't know.
So then in 2012 season, you spend most of the years 50-50 between the bullpen and the rotation. I know it didn't bother you, but I mean, what was that having to be like where it was just constant going up and down, up and down. I'm sure you just wanted to be in one spot though. I'm sure you as a player, I know you didn't care, but I'm sure you wanted just to stay in one spot instead of having to stay 50-50, in one place and the other,
Yeah. It was more, it wasn't like the physical part either. It was like the mental thing.
Right. Yeah.
I had to be on call, on point 162 times. I didn't know I didn't have a role. I mean, I had a role, but the role was everything except minus closing.
Exactly.
Minus setup, minus closing. So I was on point for every game until the sixth inning. Then I could finally shut it off. Unless we were close and might go extras, then I have to turn back on again. But that was the hardest part, was the mental aspect of it. So I think it was 2013. They finally said, "Hey, you are in the bullpen. We are not going to spot start you. We're not doing this to you. You are a reliever." That was the biggest blessing ever, because as much as I wanted to start and be a starter, it was a blessing because okay, now I know how to prepare. Now I can do my job. Now I can try and figure out how to do my job and try and do it well. And then obviously the rest is history. That's probably the best thing for me. I mean, money wise, I would rather have been a starter. I mean, mediocre starters make more money than good relievers, but
even the fifth starter, even the fifth starter, the mediocre fifth starter.
Yeah. So some of the best memories are the shenanigans that go on in the bullpen. So I mean, we're a bunch of weirdos down there, so it was great. I fit right in. But yeah, that's probably the best move for my career, was them picking a spot and then making me stay there.
Yeah, because I see here after that succeeded in 2013 when they put you exclusively in that. You had a 3.98 ERA in 73 games, and you notched your first career save that season. Mm-hmm. So I say it was a success. I mean, that was your best move that they put you in. Because did you feel like your career was going downhill after that previous year where you were doing 50-50?
I didn't feel like it was going downhill. I just felt like I was, well, I guess kind of the same thing. I felt like I was always climbing uphill. I didn't feel like it was going down. I didn't think my career was over. I just felt like I was missing something. It was I wasn't reading scouting reports right, or it felt like every single time I went out there, was like one thing went wrong, which was a big thing. Whether it be I was missing my spots, or Ospie wasn't working, or it seemed like there was always something. So it felt like it was always an uphill battle. So that was, and then I kept putting more and more pressure on myself. I needed to, every time the ball be put in play, there'd be a panic attack. Oh geez, here we go again. They're coming another 8 runs, So then as a reliever, I think it kind of helped because I knew it was short stints, as a starter, you have a couple good short, quick innings.
Mm-hmm.
And then one big blow up inning, 2 big blow up innings, and it's the whole day's ruined for the next 5 days. Your whole week stinks. As a reliever, you have those short spurts, and you might be able to dodge a few things. Next thing you're having a good year, and At the same time, though, what stinks about being a reliever is you have to go out and have one bad outing.
Right.
It take you all year to get those numbers down.
Yeah, it could screw up your ERA. Yeah, exactly.
But the good thing is like the front offices and the GMs and the managers, they all understand the game. So it's like you might like sometimes you watch a game and this guy comes in, it's like an 8 ERA, and you're like, oh man, like fans might be like, this guy stinks. Well, it's like, well, he has an 8 ERA because he gave up, 4 runs like a day ago. Like he's still got another 100 games to get this thing down, and then so it's that made it a lot easier for me mentally to know that people understood the game, I guess. That needed to understand the game, front office guys, managers, stuff like that. Even like the other bullpen guys, like if you have a bad day, a couple bad days in a row, like we were really good about being like, hey man, keep your chin up. Like we need you. Like this is it's a marathon, not a sprint. Like the biggest cliche in baseball. Right. But yeah, being in the bullpen, I think definitely. I'm not gonna say save my career, but elongated it. I guess would probably be
now tell me about this. Not many people get to say this, but you exceeded in it. Not many people get to say on a doubleheader you get both wins.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. I mean, that had to be crazy in itself. I know playing a doubleheader is crazy because that's 18 innings.
Yeah.
Regardless, for you to get both wins, I know you were in the bullpen. I know it's different than starters, but come on, you don't see that often. So how much do you think that was you consider that you consider that at least an accomplishment for you at least? Because not many people get to say that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely an accomplishment. Again, it was one of those things like right place, right time. Kind of it was kind of luck of the draw. I threw in the first game. I think in this, I don't know, I'm going to say the 7th inning. We'll say the 7th inning. Doesn't really matter. I want to say the game was tied. So I came in, threw an inning or cleaned up an inning, whatever it may be, sat down. We scored runs the next top half, and then they brought in somebody else. So I kind of snaked the win, like, oh, sweet. So then we, have a little break in between, and I mean, I'm taking my sweet time getting to the bullpen. Get to the bullpen. I have I have a soda and like a Gatorade cup. Feet up on the chair. I'm just kind of leaned back, thinking there's no way. Like I already threw, I'm done. And they called again, like in the 6th inning or 7th inning, and said get Duensing going. And I mean, that was like one of those like, oh no, like this is gonna be bad. But we were losing. I think we were losing by 1 or 2 runs. So I'm like, okay, like just let's go focus up for a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
Came in, did my thing, and we ended up putting up like a 3 spot. Took the lead. I'm like, no way. Like how? And then sure enough, we won. It didn't click that we won that game until afterwards. They're like, dude, 2 in 1 day. I'm like, what? And then sure enough, like media frenzy, like, microphone in your face. I'm like, whoa. Like I think it only happened like one other time in the Twins history or something, or 2 times or something. I don't know. But they made a big deal of it. And I don't think they didn't like hearing that I was not expecting to pitch and that I got lucky. So
right.
That's basically what it was. It was kind of luck of the draw. I mean, I could have easily went in there and thrown, and then we not score, or we score an inning later, and I don't get the win. So I mean, it's right place, right time.
So then you get an extension with the Twins. Tell us about that, how that process went, and ultimately what happened there to where you felt like you had to go off into a different team, because obviously you played after Achilles, you played for the Royals, you played for the Orioles, and then you obviously played for the Cubs. So what happened with the Twins? Did they just not want to keep you no more? Did they feel you weren't needed no more? What happened there that you couldn't finish off your career there? Because you had a good career.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I definitely wanted to stay. Yeah. In my mind, I wanted to finish there. I loved it so much. I love the front office people, Terry Ryan and those guys were great. I like the guys that behind the scenes, like our clubbies, like all those guys. I still talk with them almost every other day. It was just one of those things where I kind of had a couple, like in 15 I struggled. I think 14 I struggled a little bit. I think it was one of those things where, excuse me, just time to move on, It was just it was kind of it was a business move, but I remember they called me. I remember that like it was yesterday. We just had our 3rd kid. I'm in the hospital. Right. So we're in the hospital. We just had her like the day before, and the phone rings.
Right.
And I looked at my wife and said, hey, I have to take this. And I went out in the lobby and I'm talking to them like, hey, how's it going? So, oh, good. Just sitting here in the hospital. And they're like, oh my gosh, like, are you okay? Like, what happened? Like, what's going on? And I said, like, oh, we just had our 3rd kid. Just had a little baby girl, and it was crickets on the phone for like it seemed like an eternity.
Mhm.
And I'm like, in my head, I kind of half smile, like, oh boy, they weren't expecting to hear that, you know. And then Terry Ryan said, like, he goes, I apologize, I didn't even know your wife was pregnant. Like, I should have known that. I'm like, oh, it's fine. I'm like, you don't need to know that my wife's pregnant. I mean, come on, like, you know, we have a whole bunch of other things to worry about. Anyways,
Right, exactly.
they want to say like, well, you know, I think we're not gonna bring you back this year. They said it's like 99% sure. They said there some random things could happen where they'd ask me back, but more than likely they said don't turn down offers hoping that we're going to give you one. Is basically what they said. And I told them, I said, I get it, it's business. And they were adamant. They're saying like, no, you don't understand. Like, this is not an easy decision for us. We enjoy you and your family so much. And that made me feel like, you know, made me feel pretty good because I played with a guy named Jamie Carroll. You probably know the name. One of the greatest teammates I played with. And he said something to me when I was playing with him that has always stuck with me. He said, when I'm done playing, I want people to, when they say my name, I want people that play with me to say, oh my gosh, that guy was a great teammate. And I think for some reason it stuck with me. So like that was like kind of how I went about my business. I want to be known as a good teammate. And I think the way they handled that kind of proved that I kind of accomplished my goal, that I did what I was supposed to. So yeah, I mean, it hurt, but we just had our third kid. So like baseball was in the back of my mind. Like I knew I get something somewhere, but I didn't. Like I was getting all non-roster minor league invites. That was a slap in the face. Like, excuse me. I felt like I kind of earned a little bit more than that, especially as the first year as a free agent. Bunch of offers, like I said, non-roster minor league offers. So then I went with Kansas City. They were adamant in the fact that I was going to make the team. Excuse me. I was going to make the team, and that all I have to do is come in healthy, basically. So I was like, all right, well, in my mind, I was like, worst case scenario, I play AAA in Omaha. I'm at home. Great. So that was kind of like the leading factor. I actually had a great spring. Like when I didn't make that team, it was like a complete mind blow. I was eating lunch. We were talking about just random stuff. I can't remember who I was sitting with. And Dios walks by and says, hey, when you're done eating, will you step my office real quick? I'm like, oh, sure. Yeah, no big deal. So I step in there. He's like, hey, man, great spring. I'm like, thanks. He's like, hey, you're not going to make the team. I was like, like, okay. And it in thinking, like looking back on it, it made sense. Like we have all those off days to start a season. Duffy was their left-handed starter. They didn't need him yet, so they were put in the bullpen. There took the spot. So I was like, oh, geez. So I called my agent. I'm trying to figure everything out. And I basically said, well, hey, I signed here because the worst case scenario was Omaha. So I stuck with it. But I had like a fantastic AAA. Like they gave like a run. You know, it wasn't anything crazy. And I got bypassed 5 times with getting called up. And finally I said, I'm opting out. And which they understood. You know, it wasn't like any hard feelings
right
there. But I remember like it was between Toronto and San Francisco, like the next place I was going to sign after I opted out of my contract. And I told my agent, I said, hey, I texted, said, let's just go with Toronto. They've called so many times. Let's go there. He said, okay, hold on. Baltimore might be in play. And this has been like 10 days after I'd opted out. So I'm like losing time here. I need to get moving.
Yeah.
And I remember texting, I'm like, can we just make a decision? Like,
right.
What do you mean Baltimore's in play? Like, I don't understand. Then he calls me. He's like, hey, I just got the phone with the GM. They really want you. They said they want to send you to AAA Norfolk for like 10 days, get you back into game speed, and they're going to call you up. I said, Baltimore? He's like, and he said, oh, and they said they tried trading for you in spring training with the Royals, and the Royals said no.
Right.
Now they kind of like pissed me off. I was like, okay, now not only am I having a great spring, somebody wanted me in the big leagues, which you denied, and then you.
I don't blame you. Yeah, that's some of the politics involved in
So
baseball.
now I'm pissed. So
yeah,
like, all right, well, Baltimore's in. We're going there. We're going there. So I went to Baltimore. Pitched in Norfolk for a little while. They called me up. The day I get called up was against the Royals, and
there you go. Go figure.
And we cleared benches. Our bench is cleared. Ventura and Machado went at it, and that was odd. Because now I'm like,
God bless Ventura's soul. God bless his soul.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. He was a good dude. I talked to him just obviously a few times in spring, but enjoyed the conversations I had with him. But yeah, so now guys I spent all spring with, I'm now walking back to the bullpens with, like kind of talking half trash, just joking around, obviously. But yeah, so then we went to the playoffs, and I had a great year in Baltimore, except I had bone chips then from when I had surgery in 2004. 12 years later, bone chips moved, couldn't extend my left arm, and had surgery. So then I got put on the 60 ADL for that. Came back through like 2 weeks, and then we made the wild card game. I pitched in that game, struck out Carrera looking, and then told me, and we ended up getting walked off a little bit later that inning. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I went from like a home base for 10 years to 2 different teams in like a matter of months. So it was crazy.
I know, like you said, even though it was politics involved, you got to admit this though. Like you said, you just had your third kid, and you wanted to be with family because that was important. And I know you got cheated out of it, but did you honestly though feel like it was coming towards the end of your career before the Cubs honestly signed you? Because it kind of felt like that because you didn't spend much time with the Orioles except for 15 games, and you got no time whatsoever with the Royals. So honestly, in your head, did you kind of think it was over at that point between those two teams?
I didn't know. That's a really good question. I didn't. I guess I didn't go into off season with high expectations, I guess is a good way to put it. Just because I didn't know where I stood. After the boat chips were out, I came back throwing harder. Than before I had them removed, but I didn't know they were in there. It wasn't like they were causing any issues. But I remember I was in Colorado celebrating a wedding anniversary with my wife. My agent called. And he asked what we were doing, and so we're celebrating anniversaries. Like, hey, you might have something else to celebrate. I'm like, oh yeah, what's that? He's like, we got a big league offer. I was like, what? With who? And he's like, Chicago. I'm like, the White Sox? Like crazy. He's like, no, the Cubs. I'm like, the Cubs? They just won the World Series. Like, he's like, yeah, they want you. I'm like, this seems weird. Something's going on. So then we ended up going to Florida. Like my wife and I, we were visiting some friends, and we were going to sign the deal. And my agent says, before we sign this, is there anything, like any questions? I said, yes, I have one question for you. And he's like, what is it? I go, like, what are we missing? He said, I don't understand. I said, I went from last year not having any offers to now I'm getting a 2-year or $2 million deal from the reigning World Series champs.
Yep, from the Cubs.
I go, what's going on? Something is off. And he goes, I don't know. He goes, all I know is when a team wants somebody, they go after them. They're going after you because they want you. I'm like, all right, sweet. And then I end best year of my career, 2017. Best year by far. So much fun. Playoff wins, all that stuff. Like, it was great. I loved it. Loved Chicago. When people say, what's big league lifestyle like? Or they try and predict what it's like, that's how the Cubs treated you. I mean, they did everything for you and your family. It was amazing. So I owe a lot to the Cubs too. I love Chicago. I love the city. I love that team. Love those players I played with. It was really weird. Like when you ask these questions, it is kind of odd. Like I never really thought of it as like there's technically like 3 different times that the career could have been over.
It could have been over, yeah.
It just didn't. So I don't know. It's again fortunate, blessed, right place, right time type stuff.
So before I know it's getting late over here, I'm going to ask you 3 more questions and then we'll wrap this up. And I'll definitely stay on the plus side though. I mean, I'm having a great time. This is, I think, the longest I've ever had anybody on. So I'll still keep texting you here and there for more conversations. This is fun. I like this. I like this. This is the longest I've actually had somebody on. So this.
Oh, good. Fun. Yeah, this is good. This is great.
So we'll keep it going through text as well.
Okay.
So the first question is, before we get to the last 2, is you obviously played for 3 Hall of Fame managers. Well, soon to be Hall of Famer, shall I say? Ron Gardenhire, your first one. You spent the most tenure there.
Yep.
With your cup of tea with the Cubs and the Orioles, you had Buck Showalter and Joe Madden. How? I gotta ask you, in the clubhouse, and in a dugout. which one was more serious out of the three, and who was funnier? I'd have to say, before you answer that one, the funniest one probably had to be Joe Madden, because looking at his tenure with the Rays. So that had to be Joe Madden, correct?
I'm gonna say incorrect for me. No, actually, you know what? Technically, I played for 4. Paul Molitor was the manager of the Twins at the end before I left.
Okay, yeah, that's right. That's right.
But so funniest was to me was Ron Gardner. I was very fortunate to play with a bunch of really good like players managers. You know, like they knew the game well enough to like knew when to come to the clubhouse, when to stay out of the clubhouse, knew the clubhouse of the players, not theirs, type thing.
Yeah.
Gardner was awesome. Kept it loose and fun in the dugout 24/7. I mean, he was obviously willing to win. We're doing things the right way by far,
Right.
but he knew like when a great time was to kind of, you know, rib you a little bit, and another time like when to kind of get you going. But he always had our backs. We get tossed for you in a second. Gardner did. The most serious though was Buck Showalter. And
without a doubt, I knew that one.
I'll tell you what though, he was actually one of the funnest ones to play with, because the reason everyone was like, oh, he's always looks so mad and angry. Well, he's angry because he went to a game with a game plan, and the game plan's falling apart.
Like, and he wants to win. Yeah. He's got that old school mentality.
Yeah, but he is a player's manager. He never was in the clubhouse. The only reason he's in the clubhouse is to get his food, because he had to walk in there. He might stop and say, hey, you all right? You're good? And he'd walk off. Like, that was it. Like, never, unless if he had to talk to you, he called in his office. Otherwise, he was never around. In the clubhouse. In the dugout, business. He's a business guy. The most positive guy was Madden. He was really good at getting the best out of you by being positive, giving to you straight, but understood the mental aspect of everything. So, I mean, he was like, in 18, I went from 17 having my best year of my career to 2018 having my worst. I was dealing with a lot of stuff. I lost my grandpa that year. Things were going right on the mound. Right. I was taking like some statins, which is like cholesterol medicine, which was messing with my body big time. I mean, they called me in the office 2 different times. He said, hey, you're not right. I can see it. You're not the same guy. I don't know what's going on with you. He's like, I want you to go home for a week. Go home. Get away from the game. Get your mind right. If you want to go back down to Iowa to get a couple more innings before you come back up, let's do it. Like, we got to get you right. He did it on more than one occasion. When they could easily just release me.
Right.
I mean, hit me in the bullpen, no one ever. But he went out of his way to make sure like I was right as a human being. I was right, you know, as a family man, and I was right as a player, like in that order.
Right.
So it's like, it's hard. Like, people say, who's your favorite manager? Like I immediately say Gardner, because I had him for so long and he was great. So I'm always going to say he's my number one.
Right.
Joe Madden, really close second. I mean, he didn't have as many shenanigans in Chicago, I think, as he did in Tampa, but always kept it light, kept it fun. He would sit in the front of the plane. So when you got on the plane, he was always talking to you. As you walk by, he'd say something to you, like positive, no matter what. And it was great. It was so much fun to play for him. But yeah, funniest by far was Gardner for me. That guy could make
I wouldn't have known that, because even though I'm a Padres fan, that's why I asked you that question. Because me, as a fan standpoint, since I never was in the locker room or played the game, I only saw what I saw on TV from the Rays standpoint. Even though I'm a Padres fan, I only got to watch the Rays before I got to watch the Padres, before I was able to afford the MLB TV for the Padres. I watched all the Rays games here locally, and I could see how Madden was. That's why, to me, I thought he would have been your funniest, but that's why I asked you, because you actually got to be in the locker room with all those managers. So that's why I had to ask you.
Yeah. So, a really quick story about Gardner though. So my nickname is Deuce, and I got it from Gardy. But the thing is so my number in Minnesota was 52. All right. But my last name is obviously Duensing. So all of spring training, especially in 2008 was my first big league spring training. 2008, like everyone was calling me Dunce, like obviously short for Duensing, just Dunce, everything. This is how I've been called that for my whole life. Anyways, so I was the first guy sent down out of camp. So I'm over on the minor league side, and I'm going to throw in a game. Well, they bring in Scott Baker. He needs to throw. He needs to get some innings. So now I'm throwing in Scott Baker. Already had hearing people call me Dunce. I thought they were calling me Deuce. And so he's like, "Hey, Deuce, how you doing?" And I'm like, I looked at him like, "You're talking to me." And I'm like, "Oh, good. Yeah, good to see you." You know, and kind of just that was it. That was all it was. And I'm like, "But he just called me Deuce. Like, what is going on?" So then in 2009, back in spring training, I told Matt Guerrier that story. And you thought he peed his pants. Like, he thought it was the funniest thing he ever heard. He's like, "That's the greatest." I'm not joking. He gets up from the table mid-conversation and just starts telling the story to everyone around the table and around the locker room. Oh, no, don't do that. Like, oh, geez, like, this is going to be bad. And it stuck. Then it stuck. And then it was like 5 years later, I told Gardy the story. He's like, "Oh, I called you Deuce because your jersey number." I said, "What? How do you get Deuce from 52? And he's like, "I don't know. That's just, yeah, maybe you're right." I'm like, "Oh my gosh." Anyway, so now my nickname has been Deuce from like 2008
Day one.
until now because of Ron Gardner. Not knowing
There
my
you
last
go. There you go. See, you always got memories to look back on. See, there you go.
Exactly.
So the second part, the second question is, before we get to the final one, which I ask everybody, the second question is, obviously you were a pitcher, and you obviously hit a lot. You obviously went up against a lot of hitters in your tenure as a pitcher. Who gave you the most fits as a pitcher? Who hit you the most, and who did you dominate in your time pitching? Who did you dominate? Two-part question there.
Yeah. So Miguel Cabrera gave me the biggest fits. He's also terrified me the most. He's good enough though. It doesn't really matter who it is. He's good enough though. You fool him and he still finds a way to beat you.
Right.
He gave me the most fits, and I think he's the hitter I faced the most in my career. No, second most. The guy I faced the most, who I kind of dominated, especially early, was Alex Gordon. I owned him.
Your friend, your friend.
Yeah, 2 or 3 years. I mean, it wasn't even close. I'm talking like sinkers down the middle. He missed by a foot and a half. To the point, it got so bad to the point where his teammates were giving him a hard time. Like, "Oh, here you go, punch out." Like, he'd like, "Shut up, you couldn't figure it out." And I remember, I think it was like 2000 and, gosh, I want to say 12 or 13. He came up to bat, and he wasn't standing in the same spot. Like, he was kind of always on the dish. He had scooted back, and I remember thinking, like, this is different. Like, what's going on here? And then he started even out the numbers. Like, the numbers evened out. But I think he was the guy that, facing him for so long, I think he's the one I kind of owned the most. But again, he evened it out. Like, don't get me wrong. But I never gave a homer to him. I will take that to the grade. I never gave one up to him, so that's cool. But yeah, Miguel Cabrera for sure, I think owned me the most. And then anyone in a Yankees uniform, you know what I mean? Like, I think any of those guys also have my number. But I mean, yeah, Alex Gordon and Miguel Cabrera, the number 1, 2 guys.
Of course, your division rivals.
Yeah, I mean, I faced them all the time. So then also, like, it was interesting because I know this wasn't part of the question, but it's interesting because as I got later in my career, like, I used to do really well against lefties. Well, all of a sudden, like, lefties were starting to dominate me, and I was dominating righties. I couldn't. It was backwards, right? Like, righties should do better than my splits were off.
Right.
And I got to Chicago, right? Again, we're talking about how career should have been over type thing. I think I was kind of hanging on a thread in 16 with Baltimore. And the bullpen coach out there said, "Hey, you ever thrown a left-on-left changeup?" I was like, "Nope, never in my life." He's like, "How come?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know. I don't want to give a homers, I don't know. I don't know why. I always throw a slider or curveball." He's like, "We should start." And it was like the last month last few weeks when I came back from getting the bone chips taken out, I threw a few of those, and it worked out great. And so then I got to Chicago, and the sabermetrics guy and now the pitching coach, Tommy Hodavy's like, "Hey, your changeup on lefties is going to be nasty. Like, we're going to work with that." And like that got me a 2-year extension with Chicago because the 17 was so good.
Right.
all because of left on left changeup. So I don't know how I got on that topic just all of a sudden, but
You're
that
good.
that was interesting to me because if I'd have known that from day one of being in the big leagues, like who knows? Like if I was throwing left on left changeup as a starter, I mean, who knows? Maybe I would have been a career starter. I have no idea, but I was just no one to bring that up because we talked about how many times like it seemed like the career might be over, and like that one pitch gave me another 3 years basically.
So the final question is before we head off, 2-part question. Your pitching repertoire, what was it? What was your go-to pitch to get hitters out? And the second part is define your career in one word.
Okay. So for my first repertoire was I had both a 4-seam and 2-seam fastball, circle change, a curveball and slider. The go-to pitch kind of depends. Especially early, my go-to pitch on lefties was a slider. My go-to pitch to get a righty out was a changeup. There's no better feeling than throwing a changeup on a guy that's expecting a fastball and watching them just miss by a mile. It's the greatest feeling ever.
Right.
Then to describe my career in one word. Oh gosh, give me a second here.
Son, you are a true frog. Your dad knew it before I did. The best of daddy.
I'll say unbelievable.
There you go. I couldn't have said anything better. Yeah, an unbelievable career. I mean, at points like we said, it could have been over, and then you just excelled through it.
Yep, exactly.
So I couldn't say anything better.
Yep. Thank you.
Definitely. Well, I thank you for your time. I'll definitely stay in touch texting because this was, like I said, this was the longest I've had anybody on for. So definitely, I'm going to text you even though I stay in touch with everybody, I'm definitely going to continue our conversations. It was fun.
Yeah,
for sure.
Sounds good, man.
And I'll send you the episode after we get off so you can post that, the audio portion.
All right.
And yeah, if you know anybody, definitely send them my info, or send me their contact info, and I'll get it worked on or whatever.
Sounds good.
It was fun.
Sure.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Definitely. Be in touch for that. Look for that text.
All right, we'll do.
Text it. All right, man.
All right,
have a good night. All right. Take care.
Yeah. Take it easy.
All right, you too. Bye.
All right, see you.
Brian Duensing, everybody. Wow, what a conversation.